What's happening, everybody? I'm Allie Burns from Picks and Parlays. This is Detroit Lenny, and you're watching Morning Wood right here on the Max Wagers Network, brought to you by Caesars Sportsbook, of course, the old Caesars Sportsbook. Download that app onto your phone and then use this promo code. It's Woodful. It's not a word. It's a promo code. All right. Use that promo code. And it's going to hook you up with
a promo code.
Exactly. Up to $1,250 in a risk-free first bet. Win, lose, or draw. Don't worry about it. They're putting that money back into your account, and you get 1,000 reward credits and 1,000 tier credits in your account as well. So get yourself hooked up with Caesars Sportsbook. Also, like and subscribe. Ring that bell for notifications. We don't do this for our own fun, people. We do this for you, to give you winners, okay? To give you
just here so I don't get fined.
Picks of the day. I told the Parlays this morning, I'm like, everyone's like, screw baseball. Screw it all the way off, right? All the way off.
All the way.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm just taking the Mets and the Braves today. One of those mother effers has to cash a run line, and Laterica's like, they don't play today. I'm like, mother effers. They did.
Yeah, just take the Mets and the Braves to both win.
But they don't play today, right? Isn't that the thing?
They play
I hate the handicapper.
No, they don't play. They don't play today. That's right.
Because now they're going to play each other.
There's a free pick, Vicky. There's a free pick coming your way on that game tomorrow.
Hi, Breaking Vegas. Hi, Terry Edelman. Hi,
Terry Edelman. Are you coming on the show? Am I sending him a link too?
Terry, he should be good for 1:15 or 10:15. Right. We do have Jesse, the Iceman, is going to be coming in about 2-3 minutes here. We're just going to get the show rolling right along.
And we did have some problems streaming to Facebook, so if people are having problems, StreamYard was having some issues connecting. So if you're not on, if you're trying, I'm gonna share it to the YouTube link to the Morningwood page, just FYI. But if you guys are having problems, it's not me. It's you.
It's you. Okay. Also, I know Twitch was having problems. We don't really
Twitch.
You're with the Parlays. Screw baseball, says Jesse. He'll be in here in just a second. Good morning, Allie and Lenny. What do you think of this parlay? Bengals -4 and under 47. I always like under on a primetime game. That's just the trend that's been happening. So if it ain't broke, I'm not trying to fix it. I don't even have like a proper toolbox to fix unders. Good morning, amiga y amigo. Tigers team total over 3.5 and Tigers nerfy and Tigers money line.
I was this close to my Detroit parlay yesterday. This close.
I saw that. I saw the Wings
let me down. Tigers, yeah. Tigers won, Wings let me down. But I mean, it's my own fault. I bet on preseason hockey. What do you want me to tell you?
You know, a good person to talk hockey with is a guy named the Iceman. Let's bring in Jesse.
Story.
Jesse Schul. They don't call you the Iceman for nothing, right?
That's true, but they don't call me the Iceman because I've been dominating the preseason hockey.
Okay. That's
damn it. Fair enough.
Okay, so we'll see you later then. Okay. Good talk. Anyway.
See, this is why people don't want to come back on the show, Allie Burns.
Because I knock them off all the time. They love it. They love it. I'm just asserting my dominance. I'm only 5'2". It's the only thing I've got going for me. So how are you today, Jesse?
Man, I'm really excited about this weekend, especially college football on Saturday. I can't wait. But like the ladies said, baseball, it's the dog days of the baseball season. Pitching changes, teams that got nothing to play for. It's tough out there trying to pick winners in baseball right now.
I like the way that the Earl brothers put it is betting on teams that are just playing for exercise.
Don't bet on teams
out here exercising today. I do like the Giants and Rodon today, and Sean Higgs made a good point that even if you're not like racing for something, Rodon's had a good season. You know, he gets a win here. I think it's 15 wins on the season. So, you know, there are, even though you might not be racing to accomplish a playoff berth or something, some of them are still going after stats. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I think if you are going to bet on teams that are not involved in a playoff race, you want to look for pitchers that want to have a good performance to affect their contract negotiations for next year. Like last night, I gave out a pick on Arizona on the run line because Zach Gallen was going. Gallen's basically been one of the best pitchers in baseball all year. His whip 0.82, second best in baseball. He's one good start away from being in the conversation for Cy Young or something like that. So, and he did have an excellent performance again last night, and Arizona won. So yeah, and Rodon fits into that mold too. I mean, he's a good, there's not that many positives for San Francisco this season, but he's one of them. So yeah, could he come out and pitch a complete game shutout tonight? Absolutely, he could.
Yeah, San Fran was kind of in a letdown spot from last year. They just weren't going to be as good as they were last year because last year was kind of fluky. I agree with you on Gallen, especially because he was faced up against Verlander, who's like Cy Young dude, extraordinaire. So yeah, Gallen wants to put up. I did like it going over though. I know Tim Earl had it going over too. 6.5 just seemed too low there. But yeah, so the point, what we're getting to is that even though teams might not be racing for a playoff spot, some of them are still racing for a job next season or a better contract next season.
It's interesting you mentioned the letdown spot for the Giants. Are you aware what they called the Giants a couple years ago?
No, maybe.
I believe they called them the even year Giants because they'd win the World Series and then they'd suck for a year and then they'd win the World Series again. They did that a couple years in a row.
Yeah. I have heard that term before, and I loved it. Just telling you right now.
I've never heard that, but nonetheless, there you have it. Giants under was one of my big plays of last year. I made a bit of loot on the Giants going under. So you haven't been betting an NHL preseason at all?
Yeah, I don't believe I've ever in my life bet on an NHL preseason game. Not once.
So you're not a degenerate? That's cool.
Well,
awesome.
Yeah.
Come on.
It's 10 a.m. I sure am.
If it was COVID times and there was nothing else going on, I mean, I was betting on South American soccer and stuff when I had to be, But right now
I would not be the Russian table tennis mastermind that I am if it wasn't for the pandemic. Russian table tennis is my jam. Lenny can tell you 42 and 18 over 60 picks, and call it a gift. Thank you, pandemic. The end.
Are we not even kidding about this?
Not
no,
one bit.
Is this not sarcasm?
She bet Russian table tennis. We were in a group chat and she would just text us Sergey for the
Here's what it was.
And I would just blindly bet it.
Mm-hmm.
And we made money on the pandemic.
It was Christmas Eve. It was Christmas Eve, and there was nothing to bet on but the one NBA game the day before. And me and the twins and Lenny are all in a group chat, and they're like, "What do we bet on, Allie? Give us some Russian table tennis." Kind of joking. And I just whipped it open, and table tennis goes game after game after game. I mean, you can bet these suckers every 30 minutes all day long. So I just started shooting plays at them, and they would cash, and then we do a competition on the show called the Handicapper, where you have to make 60 picks over 30 days, 2 picks a day, and they all have to be under a minus 150. So it was the first time I ever entered this contest, and I finished 42 and 18. Thank you very much. Only Russian table tennis. I tied for first, and then I lost in a tiebreaker with James Mouse.
It was
sounds like they got to get you in the circa millions.
Only if she could have Russian table tennis.
One day in my life watched one moment of Russian table tennis. I've never seen it happen before. It's all a line movement study. It's all just evaluating line movement and comparing it to others. They all know. The Woodies know. I'll text me on the outside. I'll catch you up. It's cool. You want to get down on the TT, on the RTT. What's up, Terry Edelman?
Hello. How's it going?
How you doing?
Hello. How are you?
Not too bad. The internet guy is actually on his way, so technical issues, but I did want to jump on for
Is that
sure.
the Sky Dome, Terry?
No, I'm a big Blue Jays fan, so I have the background there.
That's fair. Have you met
I live
Jesse?
in Hamilton.
Jesse, this is Terry Edelman. He's our newest handicapper over at Picks and Parlays, but he's been doing Total Chaoses and Warning Woods and Earl Sports Bet shows. He's been doing a lot of content with us for a long time, but he's a fish now. He's official. Well, you're not a fish. Well, I guess you are because you're a freshman. Nonetheless,
I was aware, and I'm also aware that he got off to a pretty good start from what I saw his name up there the other
Yes,
day
he
for
was
sure.
number one
Crushing the
yesterday.
leaderboards.
Yeah, I had a 3-0 day, a couple 1 and 2 days last 2 days. It's been that third play that's got me. I do have a 3-pack up today. I guess I'll just I'll plug myself.
Yeah.
2 plays in the
Okay.
NFL and 1 play in the MLB. But there's 1 play in the MLB that I couldn't put up. I don't think the odds are out for that Dodgers game yet. But I love the Dodgers in this spot.
Yeah.
I can't with them.
The pitcher has not been announced for San Diego yet, and that's why the odds are not up. But it looks like it's going to be Manaea, and he has already allowed 6 earned runs, 8 earned runs, and 8 earned runs against the Dodgers in his 3 starts this year. So if Manaea is pitching, I'm all over the Dodgers.
I fail to see their lack of motivation in comparison with the Padres' motivation, I guess. I just have a hard time with the Dodgers right now.
Yeah, I can see that.
I'm picking up what you're putting down, but
it's just they dominate Manaea. So it's not a good spot for.
Are they going to have a full lineup though, or a full?
They have the last 2 days. Their big guns have been in the lineup the last 2 days. So
what's up with Justin Turner? I noticed he wasn't in yesterday.
I'm not sure.
Okay, fair.
He hasn't really been hitting all that well lately.
Okay, fair enough. Jesse, you over at the site are number 4 for the year. You're up $1,500 if you've been betting with Jesse Schul, people. All right, so you might want to check him out.
Dollar bills.
Number 3 over the last 30 days. So you're on a little bit of a heater right now, Jesse. Who are you liking today? What are you looking at?
Well, we got Ohtani making his perhaps his final start. So that's
this is another
game.
like Rodon situation, right?
Yeah, like you said, if you're going to be betting on games and teams that don't have anything to play for, then look for a pitcher that wants to have a outstanding performance, and he's a guy that the team is going to rally around. I mean, every time Ohtani starts, it becomes a bigger game for the Angels, and look at the team they're playing. Oakland is just garbage. So,
yeah,
if you're looking for a run line favorite, that might be the one.
Yeah, under I feel like is always a good play when the A's and the Angels play, but especially in a situation with Ohtani on the mound, I would look for that to go under as well. Neither one of them have any kind of bats. AJ's likes the Angels on the run line for that matter. So we got that going on. Okay, so USA women's basketball cashed at halftime and full game in the FIBA games versus Serbia. Excellent work, John Taylor. Excellent freaking work. I wasn't sure if he was talking soccer or not last night or yesterday when he was putting that play in. Like, wait a minute, 93? That seems like a high total for soccer. I'm guessing USA women are playing another sport. Okay, so what are we thinking about Thursday night football?
I like
Jesse,
the Bengals.
you go.
Well, I'm laying off the game. Obviously, Miami looks like a letdown spot for Miami. There's a little bit of uncertainty about who's going to be available for them, and the line has moved. So if you did like Cincinnati, you're no longer getting great value on the wrong side of that line movement.
Yeah.
I looked at the total. I tried to talk myself into betting the over. Couldn't pull the trigger. I mean, there's just so much uncertainty with the Tua situation, with a lot of players for Miami questionable, and they're not out. They're not going to play for sure. We just don't know. So, it's a layoff for me.
Terry, do you have a play on it?
I have 2 plays in the game, but they're both on the site. So,
Okay.
But I do have a prop that I'm also on.
Prop me. Prop it up.
If you look at what Miami has done when allowing yards, they've allowed the second most passing yards of any team this year. And we have Joe Burrow at 265.5 passing yards, which I got for minus 125. Most books have around 268, 269. I just took the 265.5. But I expect Burrow to be passing a lot and to get a lot of passing yards.
256?
Yeah, I got 265.5.
Passing
minus
yards.
125.
Mm-hmm.
But I look for Burrow to pass a lot. And I look for him to get above that. I think he could get somewhat close to 300.
How do we feel about interceptions? Who's filling in for Tua would be my first question.
He's
Tua
playing.
looks like he's gonna play from what I've read.
Him
But
and
see,
Jalen
it's all
Waddle,
up. That's
but they're
all up in the air. But it
banged
would
up.
be Bridgewater. Would be his
Right.
backup.
Oh, I
Teddy
love
B.
Teddy.
Teddy
Yeah,
B.
Ted.
He's pretty good.
Okay, so how do we feel about over half of an interception on Burrow and Tua and Teddy for that matter?
I love both of them to throw pick. I
I
love both. I love both quarterbacks to throw. My teaser is the Dolphins and the over. I think that the Bengals win by a touchdown. I don't know if they win by 10, and I like an over 41. I'm just looking for both these quarterbacks to try and air it out. I'm Jamar Chase, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. Three of the most deepest receivers to go deep, like the three of the best deep receivers in the league are playing in the same game. So let them eat.
Let him eat. So Jesse, Rickett says that if you looked at the strength of schedule, the Bengals have played the three almost worst teams while Miami's played two Super Bowl contenders and the Pats.
Mm-hmm.
How much do you take into strength of schedule into your own handicapping? I play a lot of strength of schedule when college basketball comes around. That's a real big freaking deal for me. How does
It's a real big deal for me. It's funny that you mentioned that because I've been in some recent discussions with some other people around the industry about strength of schedule, and I think it's everything really. I mean, if you're quoting stats, if you're going to say, well, they allow this much rushing, this much passing, they pressure everything you're saying they do. Well, who they do it against is the only way to qualify that. And yeah, if you don't acknowledge strength of schedule, everything else you're saying is meaningless in my opinion. So yeah, and he makes a valid point, and I agree with everything he said, and that's probably why I didn't put it was the situational aspect had me leaning towards the Bengals, but I couldn't pull the trigger based on what he just said there. That's the strength of schedule, the offensive line too. They can't seem to protect Burrow, and you guys' thoughts on the interception prop. That anytime you got a quarterback that is, they're having a tough time keeping the defense off of him. He's going to be under pressure a lot. Yeah, they're more likely to throw interceptions. So that feeds into that bet as well.
It's kind of a big deal. I was looking up, I don't know why it's not there anymore. It might have been Drunk Alley doing it, but I was looking up Andrew Heaney last night. I just figured out what I was doing wrong. But he's matched up. Hold on one second. I have to remember what I'm talking about real quick. He is a Dodger. I had him scheduled to start today, and apparently he's not now. But I was looking up his stats, and he's pitched like 67 innings, but has like 82 strikeouts or something like that. And I was like, wow, this is like quite incredible. And then the next thing I want to do is look at who he's throwing against. And granted, he was playing the Mets and the Cardinals and like some decent teams. However, if those teams were the Nationals and the Pirates, and you've got all these strikeouts against teams that don't really like hit the ball or give a crap about things, then it really is a huge difference. Terry, do you use strength of schedule in your handicapping?
Yes, maybe not as much. Maybe not as much as others, but yeah, it's definitely in there who they play. Like records can be deceiving sometimes,
just like ERAs.
Yeah, exactly. So you do have to look sometimes deeper just into if you're just looking at records. it won't really work out too well.
I know. So you guys know, I started doing statistics for UNLV basketball in like 2006, right? So I did that for a while. I did statistics for Aviators baseball. And part of what you're doing there is recording what goes on in the game. And then at the end of the game, you give your sheet to the big boss, and they go, both general managers of the baseball teams will go over the stat sheet. They'll send it back to you approved. A lot of times it'll come back and it'll be like, that wasn't really an error. That was a this or that, like one little thing. These things can be manipulated. And I'm not saying that there's like some, like we're skewing stats for anything. Don't get me wrong. It's not like some finagled thing that's happening in sports betting or in sports statistics. But at the end of the day, the stats are what I type in here. Like that's what it is. And one of the most profitable times in my life was realizing that when you go to the sports book and like you get your sheet, right, with all your sports betting info on it, and you flip it over, it has your home, away, all your stats are on the back of the sports betting sheet. Well, I did my own stats, and then comparing that home and away to my home and away, I realized that home games were not always home games. Just because you're playing in Maui at a tournament and you're the home team, you're not at a home game. And so there are little weird ways that stats can be skewed, whether or not it's meant to be nefarious. But it's important to like pay attention to that kind of stuff, and strength of schedule goes along right with that as well. Lenny, what's your play? Are you teasing tonight?
Yeah,
I feel like I'm rambling. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I'm taking the Dolphins plus the points and the over.
I like the Dolphins. I'm fading the injury report here.
Yeah. Nicholas Lee mentions that their town is underwater. Nobody gives a shit about Hurricane Ian. That has nothing to do with Tua's play. Well, it's in Cincinnati, so the weather has nothing to play with Tua's concussion.
No, nobody cares.
Who he's been medically cleared to and can walk because he's practiced. So, that being said, I'm taking Miami plus the points.
What do we think about BYU today? Let me pull some numbers up.
I can't wait for the other game. That's how I feel about the BYU game. I can't wait for South Carolina State, South Carolina. I can't wait for the South Carolinas to go at each other, because I love myself an in-state two shitty team rivalry,
especially a dirty South rivalry.
Right, it's dirty South. I mean, but neither one of these teams are good, which makes this game even better, in my opinion. So, I mean, I'm taking South Carolina State just so we're all clear. Plus 39. Okay, that's where I'm at with that game. I'm taking all the points, because in a rivalry game, you throw out records. You could throw out everything. These dudes just came
There's
to box.
no home field advantage here.
Right, so I'm going to take South Carolina State. I'm taking it. I'm taking the point. I got a teaser for that one too. Taking the points, and I'm going over.
All right. Terry, do you have a play on either of the college football contests?
No, I'm very selective. I'm new to betting college football, so.
That's right. This is a thing. Picks and parlays, view crewers. Terry Edelman, Nick Parsons is another one. They don't live in America, so college football they don't give a crap. No offense, Terry, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not their thing because they don't go to school here. It's not their deal, man. Nick Parsons broke this down, but it's college basketball is the same thing. It's just like not necessarily your number one.
It's not a big thing in that area, right?
Jesse,
I'm much more focused on hockey than I will be.
I was going to say, you're saying these guys don't live in America. I don't even live in North America.
Right.
So,
but you're from the U.S., but you live in Thailand now.
No, negative. I've spent plenty of time in the U.S. I'm from Vancouver, but lived in Asia now for 20 years.
Right.
I'm kind of an international kind of guy. I travel.
International superstar, to be honest with you. Just say it. I'll say it for you if you won't want to say it. International superstar, man of mystery.
I'm jumping on a plane tomorrow and going to a different country. I'll be in Malaysia all week next week, so I'll be doing shows from there if you guys got me scheduled for shows. But college football is not something that you grow up with in Canada. But if you're into, like, myself, I was really heavily into betting on sports as a really young guy. So I spent my Saturday mornings watching and betting on college football from a very young age. And I'm I love college football. It's one of my favorite sports, if not my favorite sport. But that's certainly not the norm in Canada, for sure.
That's fair. How is it like televised wise? Like when you wake up on Saturday morning, what's on TV in Canada or in
cartoons?
Asia?
I mean,
No,
that's what I woke up watching.
There'll be some games on, but if the Blue Jays are playing, then that's going to be on a few channels.
Oh, so you actually get to like watch the team that your freaking country.
Unless it's on Apple TV.
Because we don't.
When it's on Apple TV or when it's on Apple TV, I don't get to it. But
what about you, Jesse? Saturday morning, what's on TV?
Well, whatever I'm streaming, I guess. I'll be streaming it all using every streaming service you can think of. I'm subscribed to, and whatever I can't subscribe to, I'll find it somewhere.
That's fair. I can't even live in the East Coast because of what time sports start in the East Coast. I couldn't even imagine living in another country.
It's awesome.
Yeah, the game started like midnight.
The East Coast. Oh yeah, you guys. I complain about football starting at 10 a.m. here.
Oh, I love football starts at 10 a.m. That just gives me a reason to crack a beer at 10 a.m.
No.
What about this week?
When I lived in England,
I won't watch London games at all. I have no desire. I think it's dumb. No offense to anybody in London or England or anything or like that you want football, you want American football, blah, 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 all that. Watch it on TV like the rest of us. But I think the whole concept of having games there does not make sense. You're taking games away from that team, that city, that you're taking all that income away.
The travel too, like the travel on that
Right.
team. Anyone who's ever flown overseas knows that like it's not easy travel.
Right.
You know,
the Mexico games I like. That makes sense to me because it's a border. You know, it's right there. I mean that. You know, the Raiders, the Chiefs, for whatever reason, have Oakland. The Raiders for sure have a good big Mexico City following. Stuff like that. And all those West Coast teams. But London, I love how everybody thinks that. The people that think London's going to get an NFL team,
London doesn't care.
Should wear a helmet on a regular basis. That's all I'm saying. One of those soft padded ones.
Look what happened to the two college teams that played in the UK this year, Nebraska and Northwestern. They're not in very good shape right now, are they?
No, especially the travel is one thing, and I know COVID is like mostly over, but it seems unnecessary. When I lived in England, I literally didn't even look at baseball the entire time because it wasn't on TV. I would have had to really search it out. I just became a soccer fan. I just started really getting into the
You adapt to whatever you're
and I started following cricket. Yeah. But then when I came back in the States and, English people are like, well, you don't watch football. And it's like, that's because we have freaking basketball and baseball and real football.
I love a good
You don't need to watch soccer because we have better sports in bunches in America.
In bunches.
You're welcome. Anyway, just saying, I love my soccer, but they don't want to watch football over there. It doesn't make sense to them. It's not their football is how I feel about it. Maybe I'm
Terry, do you do any soccer? I know Jesse does soccer.
Jesse's a
no. I did a little bit of MLS,
but
I know I'm not really a soccer guy.
So Jesse, talk to us a little bit of soccer. We have a lot of morning Woodies that are super into soccer. What's like going on right now that we should know about just as professionals in the sports betting industry? Is there anything we need to know in the soccer world?
Well, the World Cup's coming up in about 6 weeks, so we should all be excited about that. And Terry should be following his national team because they've been quite good. This is an exciting thing for the Canadian team to qualify for the World Cup. They've got some great players. Alphonso Davies from Bayern Munich, Jonathan David from the French League. They just lost 2-0 to Uruguay, but Uruguay is a soccer powerhouse. And that game was actually it was sort of closer than it appeared to be. Canada had plenty of really good chances, but that's the difference between a powerhouse in soccer and a team like Canada or even the US or even like Mexico. You don't have those finishers, those guys that, that can score score on every single chance. You got a guy like Erling Haaland for Norway and for Manchester City. I mean, if that guy gets the ball in front of the net, it's in the net every single time. And we just don't have guys like that on our North American teams.
We surely do not. How is USA looking as far as the World Cup goes?
I think Canada looks better than the USA right now. And that might be a controversial opinion, but I mean, I believe Canada did beat them in head-to-head meetings in the qualifiers, as well as wins over Mexico. I think it's a down year for the U.S. national team. Actually, I don't think they're.
We live in a down year.
Mm-hmm.
Terry had to go. His internet guy was there.
Yeah,
so
I figured.
Messaged me privately.
Has U.S. soccer ever been good?
Yeah. Well, 8 years ago, they were pretty good, I believe, when they had Landon Donovan and Brad Friedel and
I remember
Clint
12
Dempsey.
years ago,
And
I was pregnant with my kid 12 years ago, and Landon Donovan was on that World Cup team. And because I remember thinking about naming my kid Landon or Donovan. That was like in the name cycle of naming my kid.
That was on the list?
It was on the list. Yeah.
Nice.
God, there were some weird ones on there. But I don't know. I feel like
I wanted to name Nathan Lucifer, and my ex-wife wouldn't let me. I'm like, we could just call him Louis.
I can't imagine why, Leonard.
I mean, who's going to pick out a kid named Lucifer? Who's going to pick out a kid named Lucifer? Who's going to pick out a kid named Lucifer?
I take it you're not going to church on Sunday, Lenny?
I mean, I'm going, but I'm bringing
Are you
dark
taking
angel
Lucifer
with
to
me.
church with you?
Yeah, I am. I'm bringing the fallen angel with me.
Dios mío, ¿por qué, Lucifer? Do you have kids, Jesse?
Yeah, I got two.
Don't do
what
it.
Are their names?
Dave and Amanda.
All right, so you kept it simple. See, no Lucifers involved. Yeah.
I mean, I named him Nathan. I mean, I kept it
That's fair.
simpler.
I've got an Escher, like MC.
And I've been calling him Nate Dogg since he came out the womb. I'm just letting you know. Like, that's his, like, gamer tag. That's his, like, thing. And it just kind of stuck. I nickname all my kids. Like, Brendan is B-Money. My daughter, Charlie Ray, is Hot Rod Charlie. You know, Hunter is Big
to
Honey.
call her Charlie Horse because I think of the racehorse. So
Yeah,
I want to call her Charlie Horse, but it's Hot Rod Charlie. I know.
It's so funny because she's 12. And when you say stuff like, oh, sorry, Charlie. And we think of like, I mean, been saying, sorry, Charlie, or the tuna fish commercial. Sorry, Charlie.
Right.
And she's like, or well, I'll say it to like another kid. I'm like, sorry, Charlie, that stuff don't work like that. And she's like, what? And I'm like, nothing. I'm like, y'all don't get it, young ass.
I saw a picture on Facebook this morning, Lenny. It looked like your son. Or was that you 20 years ago?
That's Nate Dogg right there. The little Lenny. Son, that's Nathan. Yeah. He'll be 20. He'll be 20 November 15th. He's my oldest son, and then my oldest daughter will be 22 in December. That's from my previous marriage, and I have 3 bonus kids that are Hunter is 13, Charlie is 12, and B Money Brendan is he's 10. He's 10. He's double digits. Big year.
Sounds like you got your hands full.
Yeah, I mean, House Winston is a full house at any given moment. There's chaos here for sure.
We're leaving my 19-year-old in the house while we go to Malaysia next week, and he's already organizing parties and this. And that.
Yeah. My oldest 2 live in Arizona, which is like 4 or 5 hours away from where I'm at in Vegas. But so we still, it's a quick trip. We can drive easily for a long weekend or something like that. Now they're old enough, they can just leave after work, drive themselves, come here for the weekend. So they'll just show up. So my son just bought a motorcycle, so I'm a little nervous about that. He bought it all on his own, put his own money down, got his own loan, did his own thing. And I'm like, man, must be nice to be 19, young and dumb and just throwing money, because he's just a kid. And I'm like, man, just don't kill yourself on that thing, because your mother will kill me, because somehow it'll be my fault. You know, so what else we got going on? Do you have any plays in the college football games tonight? Did we talk? We talked a little bit about that. I know I did, but did you?
Yeah, I didn't like either of the games really.
I'm not a fan.
Big lines, big spreads. Thursday night games. Didn't want to touch it. I'm focused on the Saturday games. I've got a full card, a 5-pack up for Saturday's games.
Ooh.
Oh boy. I know that Utah State BYU game. I mean, the Battle of the Mormons. I don't know if I can. That's another big spread. I don't believe BYU is a 24-point favorite over anybody. But then again, I don't trust Utah State to do anything, so I don't want nothing to do with that game. I honestly can't wait to watch this South Carolina game. I just can't wait. I've been looking forward to this game. The Tuesday and Wednesdays, I'm like withdrawals from football, until Maction comes around and stuff.
Yeah.
So like Tuesday and Wednesday, I'm always like tread lightly in baseball. Well, I got some preseason hockey, so I'll bet my Red Wings. Yeah, whatever. Small bets, treading lightly. And then I go and then Thursday comes around and I go too hard on Thursday because I'm just jonesing for it on Tuesday and Wednesday. And then I settle back in on Friday and get right for Saturday and Sunday. That's the roller coaster that is. Just saying.
Rickett says that Utah State will score less than 10 points. There's 51% of the cash is on Utah State. The 24.5 just goes to a 24. 59% of the tickets are on BYU. I mean, I
get it, but like BYU's defense ain't great.
On BYU, are you really putting a -24 in your parlay, or are you teasing it? Because don't even tell me you're putting BYU money line in your parlay on tickets. I
just don't want nothing to do with that game.
Doing that right now, turn off my show and never watch it again. Okay.
I don't hate it.
4 points in a parlay.
Utah State is just horrible. Like horrible. Like they're in the bottom of the barrel here.
They're like a Duke. They're a good basketball team, but they're not a good football team.
They're 1-3 and 0-4 against the spread, and I just can't. I don't know. They scored 24 points against UNLV.
Did you guys watch the basketball last week?
No.
There was basketball.
The basketball was Kansas Duke, right? Two undefeated teams, Duke and Kansas. It was a hell of a game. It was one of the ones I watched.
It was a good football game. I saw highlights of it. It was a battle.
I actually walked away from that game sort of thinking that, hey, both these teams look real to me. Both quarterbacks were pretty good. Kansas they move the ball. They score points. They appear to have athletes. That coach, Lance Leopold, he seems to have things on lockdown. I'm a fan. Call me a fan of Kansas, and Duke actually gave them a run for their money too. So I'm a believer in those two programs right now.
I did a free pick. I think it was either Nick or Tim. One of them did it in a college, like a football rapid fire, added it, or somebody did it last week in a Power Hour video. And I was like, man, I didn't even know these two teams had footballs, or these two schools had football teams. You know what I mean? I joke, but I knew they did. But it's like, how are they relevant? And then they played each other. It was it was probably a top 15 game, maybe top 10 of last. Saturday,
and we touched on strength of schedule. So when you look at a team like Kansas, they're 4-0 right now. It's easy to say, wow, are they for real? But when you look at the teams that they've beat, the spreads that they've covered, they beat West Virginia in Morgantown. They beat the Houston Cougars. They were 3-score underdogs in both those games. They win them outright. Now, both those teams have sort of been a little bit of a disappointment, but they're still big-time Power 5 programs. So, Kansas is not a phony team. You have to give them credit at this point. 4-0, and they are a real team that will give you a real football game. And if you take them lightly, they will beat you.
Yeah, I agree. They threw 4 touchdowns.
That's all.
300. They both threw 324 yards, which I thought was a little bit of a quinky dink. But one threw 4 touchdowns and one threw only 1. Okay, so Duke is just to Duke or whatever. But I mean, that game went back and forth. It ends up 35-27. Kansas wins by 8, but they were only favored by 7. So they barely covered, but they still covered. And you're right. I mean, they're a decent team, Kansas. I don't want to say it, but they might break the top 25.
So this week, Kansas is a 3-point dog at home against Iowa State. How do we feel about that? +3 for the Jayhawks, 4-0 against the spread.
I think we're going to find out who Kansas really is playing a big boy school in Iowa State, but I'm not saying Iowa State is good.
What do you think, Jesse?
I think I already know who Kansas is. I mean, the last 3 games, Duke, West Virginia, and Houston. Now, Iowa State's a tougher opponent than any of those 3 teams, perhaps. Yeah. But I'm not sure that a home game against Iowa State is tougher than a road game at Morgantown or at Houston. So they're catching points. I'm not sure they should be. I think they're going to score. I don't think there's anybody going to stop them
100%.
So if they lose and if they don't cover, I still think they're going to be in the game.
All right, so getting 3 isn't a bad gig. On the flip side, we have Virginia at Duke. Duke is -2.5. It opened at a 2, so it has ticked up a little bit. The 56.5 went to a 51.5, so lots of action on that under. Any thoughts about the Virginia-Duke game, little ACC affair?
So we all can, maybe we can all agree, but it seems that the consensus is that Syracuse is a really strong team this year. And Virginia just lost to Syracuse by 2 points. So it's easy to look at that and say, well, geez, this Virginia team could play a team like Syracuse on the road, lose by 2. They must be pretty tough. But you always do your due diligence and you break down the box score. You look at first downs, total yards, time of possessions, turnovers, how the game came to that conclusion. Did they score a bunch of points in garbage time to, tighten the gap there? And that was the case. Syracuse should have ran away with that game. Syracuse turned the ball over a few times. They had 4 turnovers. Syracuse was sloppy, allowing Virginia to keep that game close, making what should have been a blowout look like a close game. So that's my take on Virginia. And I already said I was impressed with Duke when they made it a game in a tough game on the road at Kansas last week. And their quarterback was pretty awesome, actually. I mean, he threw for 324 yards. I don't think either of them threw a pick. They both just continued to move the ball. And so, I mean, I do like Duke and I do like Kansas.
Yeah, and we're talking about this Virginia team who, only won by 2 as a 9-point favorite to Old Dominion. They really aren't that great. They just look better than they are on paper, is how I feel about it.
I'll tell you what, a teaser that I already have bet for Saturday is that Iowa State-Kansas game. And I took Iowa State plus points at home as a home dog. I'm sorry, not Iowa State. I took Kansas at home as a home dog against Iowa State. But I took that under. I just don't. I think Iowa State's defense is really, really good. I think Kansas will score, not as often as they would probably like or have in the past against games. But I think they're going to keep it close. And I think that game goes a little under. So on a 6-point teaser, if you're going to give me Kansas at home plus 9, I wouldn't be opposed to a 7-point teaser if you got 3 or 4 games, and getting it to a 10. Right. Get it to a 10, get it to a 10.5, but a 10 will push on you. I don't think Kansas gets blown out. Let me just put it that way. I don't think they get blown out.
One thing about that game, Lenny, is if Kansas is losing by double digits and there's 2 minutes left or 3 minutes left, they look to me like the team that you can kind of maybe not count on, but they look very capable of marching down the field in garbage time and getting that backdoor touchdown.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm not so. Listen, I'm Virginia here. Again, plus the 3. I know.
How dare you?
I know. I just think this I think the Virginia team can keep Duke in check. And keep. But I would like the under more in that game.
Screw Virginia. Screw it all. No,
I know.
it's Duke or nothing. Jesse, I'm a diehard Duke fan. So is Cameron Ross. Just for future reference, we live and die and breathe and sleep and eat Duke. So just so you know that. Also, I went to the University of Houston, so I have a lot of things with them going on as well. And just because I'm talking about things, I hate Kansas and everything about them, mostly because of Bill Self. But, I don't care if it's football, basketball, baseball. I don't care if it's Little League. I hate Kansas. Okay, the end. All right.
One of the advantages to being a Canadian is I have no loyalties. I have no favorites. I can bet on a team this week and fade the crap out of them next week without any guilt or any worries whatsoever.
That's fair. I typically just don't bet on my teams. I'm not, and any morning Woody will tell you that if I bet on Houston, they will lose and they will not cover and it will be bad. If I make any bet on my Houston Cougars, it's all over for them. So it's, I don't have to. I do enjoy being able to watch the teams that I like just play without money on them and then betting on teams that I, don't have heart associations with, I guess. That's how I do that. So there's that. Yeah. So there's that.
That's fair.
What do we got here? About 9 minutes to go. All right. Where are we at on Woody picks? We got
everybody here, except for a few. I'm just sorting.
Okay. So Terry, I hope Terry's good. She's in Florida. Hopefully she's in Tampa though. So hopefully her internet's okay. Jim Bob, Brian, and AB. I thought I saw Jim Bob. Maybe not. I swear I saw Jim Bob. There he is. Oh, he was just talking. He was just talking about.
He's using those guys either Facebook or YouTube after the show.
Yeah, they like to watch some line movement throughout the day, which is really the smart thing to do before we go just dumping plays into contests. Maybe we should wait a few minutes and let the day progress and lines change a little bit.
That shit's overrated.
So there's that. So, Jesse, tell the people what you were up to over at picksandparlays.net. Like I was telling everybody, Jesse is number 4 for all of 2022. He's up $1,500. You're number 3 over the last 30 days. So you're kind of crushing things. What can the people expect to find when they buy one of your packages? What kind of stuff do you offer?
Well, I talk to my buddy Sean Higgs once in a while, and I'm like the polar opposite of Sean Higgs. So when I said I got a full card, I got 5 college football plays this week, for him that's like a day off, right?
He's a volume guy.
He accidentally put 5 plays in.
It's like his internet shorted out a quarter of the way through his thing.
Yeah. If he only had 5 plays on a Saturday, we'd have to do a wellness check, right?
Right.
Yeah. Hunter. Yeah. Hey, what's going on over there?
I'll be in Houston tomorrow. I can check on him. I'll be in Houston.
All right. There you go.
But I swept the board 2 Saturdays in a row now, 3-0 with college football. So I'm feeling confident. The games are getting a little better. It's conference play, a lot of big games in the Power 5 conferences. And I've isolated 5 so far. They're all available in a 5-pack, and that's the way I think that you should go with that. And you mentioned my place on the leaderboards. More impressive than any of those things that you mentioned is my place on the football leaderboards. Number 2, I think it's number 2 in NFL and number 2 in college, but I'd like to think that it's pretty high if you combine the 2, college and NFL.
So over all picks, you're number 4. NFL, you are 4, 11, and 3. Over college football, you are number 2, 17, and 5. NFL preseason, you were number 3, and that's where we're at. WNBA, you're number 1. I didn't know that about you. I didn't know that about you, Jesse. Now I do. But yeah,
I didn't know that about me either until it happened.
There you go.
Don't tell the Earls. They love some WNBA. They hang their hat on it. So basically, people, ipso facto, the point that we're getting to here is Jesse's freaking sharp and he'll make you money. So head over to picksandparlays.net, subscribe to, or not subscribe, click on Jesse Schul, the Iceman, and then use the promo code NFL. It's going to save you 20% off whatever you load into your cart. So definitely check him out. you really do have some pretty impressive numbers. I mean, I go over these leaderboards on a pretty regular basis, and I'm like, wow, you're really pretty sharp, aren't you? All right. The other cool thing going on at Picks and Parlays right now is that leaderboard is just constantly updating. Like, everybody is pretty hot right now. Dan Kaiser's been running, Cam Ross, Sean Higgs, like there's a lot of y'all that are just really hot right now. And that's good for all of us. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. So definitely want to be checking out the premium plays on Picks and Parlays. Your bots are back, Leonard.
What do you want me to tell you?
The good thing about your colleagues winning is that means their clients still have money left over to buy picks from you.
Yes, exactly. And, it is one of those things we all know when we bet sports, right? You go up, you go down, you go up, you go down. So maybe you're riding one guy for a while and then he starts to go down. Well, check out the leaderboard and dip into whoever's hot now and switch over to him. And then, that's kind of how I navigate it. When Craig Trapp's hot, I'm taking Craig plays. When the Twins are hot, I take their plays. If Cam's hot, I take his plays. Terry, you're alive! Brewers on the run line for Miss Terry. I'm glad that you're surviving out in Florida, my friend. All right, guys, that just about does it for our day. If you haven't put your last Woody standing pick in, drop it into the comments here or pop it onto our Facebook group page, facebook.com/groups/morningwoodpicks. That's where all your information is. That's where everything you need to know is. Handicapper ends tomorrow. 30 days has September. Tomorrow's the last day of the Handicapper. Silky's going to take it down. There's still a little back and forth going. I didn't grade from last night, even though I thought I did.
Where you graded through?
Tuesday.
Through Tuesday. Okay, I can take
I just don't have yesterday. But Silky's 37-17. Kyle's 32-22. And then Brian Gillihan, D-Talk, and Lane Elliott are all 31, 21, and 2. So that third place spot is really up for grabs. But it depends on yesterday's picks and today's picks and tomorrow's picks. Who's going to get the payout? Remember, first place is $250. Second place is $100. Third place is $50. That's how we roll with the HC. The new one is going to start. You've got to start the new HC because I'll be out of town.
I'll post it.
Yeah. I'll grade. Don't worry about that.
Yeah. I'll continue to post like I've been doing, like at night or whatever. So
should we wait and start it on? I guess we can't, right? Start on the 3rd.
It starts on the 1st.
It has to, right?
Otherwise, it'll overlap into the following month, and that'll be all kinds of goofiness.
Okay, and we're going to minus 130.
Be on the lookout for that shit. It's on the Facebook page. Be on the lookout.
Minus 130, right?
Minus 130. Yeah, I'm yeah.
New juice.
Minus 130
new juice for the HC. 2 picks per day, 30 days in a row. Minus 130. Get it.
Read the rules. Till then, good luck unless you're against me. We're out of here.
You heard him.